Hello, everyone. This is Tom from VoIP Supply. We are very happy to have Tommy Lee from Fanvil with us today. He's going to be going through one of their newest lines of phones. Very exciting, the Fanvil V-Series of phones. I could say myself from having seen these things in the flesh, very nice looking phones, really nice feel to them. Really exciting time here. I think that's going to be a really great product offering here going forward. There is a Q&A feature in your lower right-hand corner, a little bubble with a Q in it that looks like you were reading a comic book. You just click on that, post your question. We will address any and all questions at the end of the webinar. Well, some of the reseller benefits working with VoIP Supply is our VoIP rental program. We have hardware and provisioning, which couples pretty nicely with our fulfillment program, but two can be totally separate. We can provision any order that you place with us. The phones, have them pre-provisioned, blind shipped to your customers direct for you. And with our fulfillment program, that just makes things even more fluid where you have your own login to our API and you're able to place orders yourself, have real-time inventory updates and such. And we'll even go as far as using your own packing tape if you want us to, putting any leaflets in boxes. So it basically looks like things are coming from your warehouse, even though they're coming from VoIP Supply. We also have our CloudSpan Marketplace, where you can utilize our partner program to team up and become an agent for any of the service providers that we are currently master agents for. And that can earn you monthly residuals as well as any spiffs that those service providers are currently running. And our refresh reclaim program, which as of late, as everybody knows, worldwide shortages of phones and gateways and all kinds of things, has been a godsend because we're able to get things in our refresh line. It saves you money because you're paying less than the new price, and you're also getting a great product fully certified by VoIP Supply with a full 1-year warranty. If you do have used equipment, always feel free to reach out to your rep and we can get you in touch with our reclaim manager. He'll provide you a quote on anything we may have interest in purchasing so you can earn a few extra bucks to throw in your pocket or put towards new gear. And right there's my contact information. You can feel free to email or call me anytime or send a carrier pigeon. I much prefer that method. Haven't received one yet, but I'm looking forward to the day that I do. And with that, I will turn things over to Tommy Lee, and he's going to go over this new and exciting Fanvil V-Series of phones.
Thank you very much, Tom. I appreciate the introduction. We're really excited to introduce a very new line. I think from a looks or design perspective, I think we really kind of broke the mold, and we've got a lot of things I want to introduce. But what we've done is really complemented our XU series. Now, for those who are familiar with Fanvil, our main line out there is really the XU series. This is not to replace the XU series by any means, but to complement it, only because the new V series has been condensed, very similar to how we actually did for the XU, and having every single feature that you can ever think about incorporated, but some of the new additives, the new features have been put on, such as including Wi-Fi on the actual phone itself. Before, on our XUs, you required an X dongle, and now we've actually put in both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz integrated Wi-Fi on these phones, which makes it great for remote provisioning or remote operation for that matter. Not everybody has a PoE switch that's readily available, and what that does, it just makes it easily to really set up an office in any home office or any remote office put together. So I'm just going to really put together a brief presentation that's going to kind of give you a quick overview. I'm not going to go over all the detailed features, but just kind of going over where we differentiate so that you can come up with a decision to see whether or not this is something that will fit your needs. And here it is. This is really the line. Some of the really great things, starting off, we'll just start off at the top. You could really look at 4 different lines. And when you really think about it, this could look at, the top line is only Android. People either like Android or they don't like the main bread and butter IP phones that are out there that will go through all of the things that many people are used to today for IP phones. And one of the nice things is that we've done a lot of consolidation in terms of having all the features on this. We have one, basically we call an essential line with the V62. This one has all the basic features as well as a lot of the, that one can actually use to really get, a dial tone. Someone who just needs a dial tone, we've actually put together a nice feature set incorporating all of our, performance features, but also slimming down the actual offerings of the V62 so that this could hang in a cafe wall or do something that's really, really simple, and also saving you as well as your end client lots of cost. But the main lines here, moving up from the 65 and 64, really the main difference on the 65 is that this has a tilt screen, which you can actually go ahead and tilt it. And you can actually see whether or not, many people get into standing desks these days for, ergonomics to avoid all types of risk type of things. And you can go ahead and make these adjustments to make this really work for you. The V64 doesn't necessarily have a tilt screen, but it is a basic function phone that has integrated Wi-Fi as well. But again, with the smaller screen and a couple of different slides, these are the things that we've actually done, but they incorporate all of the separate, features that we consider baseline as part of the standard offering in this phone. So we keep it really simple so that you can choose whatever one you need. And then the big differentiator on the V67, this of course is a touchscreen phone, of which has all of the different screens that you can go ahead and touch. This is also a tilt screen as well. And the nice thing about this is that we've actually integrated a camera that's right on the screen itself. And the good news about this camera, we're also very concerned about privacy. So it actually has a hard plastic lock so that, for those who are concerned about people trying to turn on the camera, there's an actual lock that you can actually close the camera and you can keep everything locked, because it'll be a total physical blockade and having that done. So we've done lots of interesting things with this keypad in really providing what we call sort of a backlit keypad, so that when you decide to use it, it'll go ahead. It's a unique feature of our Android phone. But we've also kind of have some sort of a similar keypad situation here, not as fancy as the Android, but then something that will provide you with a similar layout on the regular Linux series. Now, in the Fanvil V-Series IP phones, the great way to do this is that in a lot of the competitive solutions, we have the inclusion of the camera. In many of the competitive solutions out there, you might have to incorporate a separate camera, which really adds another level of integration that you're going to have to do for updates and all these things. And now what we've decided to do is to go ahead and incorporate it onto the camera itself. And on the V67, this is great because, we also support this has a tilt screen as well as a 2-year warranty. Many of the other alternatives out there only support a 1-year warranty. We actually entertain a 2-year warranty, and that's based on when you actually pick up the phone from VoIP Supply, so that, the time starts right then and there. And the status of these phones, quite frankly, they're already on the boat and plane and it's already on their way to VoIP Supply. So we're really excited about complementing our XU product and incorporating these guys as part of the menu so that you can go ahead and choose. I'm not going to go over all of the different pieces, but here's a nice little thing that we've actually done that differentiates this phone, is that not only do we support Android 9.0, because a lot of the new clients that support Android phones really need Android version 8 and above. And the good news is that we actually support 9, so that gives you really a good roadmap moving forward, so that you're far ahead of the client requirements that are out there. And one of the things that we decided to add, at least on the top 2, is antibacterial plastics on the phone. Given our new environment, everybody, especially if we have a public phone that you can go ahead and use, these plastics are more susceptible, so that we just minimize the level of bacteria that's on these phones. And that's available not only on the 67, but it also appears on the high-end Linux as well. And so with the top of these things, these are what I consider a lot of the differentiators, because we also comply with Bluetooth 5.0. So we're trying to bring all of the Bluetooth connectivity up to the latest revision, including all of the latest Wi-Fi capabilities as well. So that all of these things put together, you end up with something that really does provide a unique network. Obviously, it supports things well beyond a gigabit throughput, which is great if you want to not to lose any throughput on a gigabit device. But another unique thing is that these are also wall mountable, and this goes not only for the V67, but it also goes with throughout the whole entire line. The other phones that we have, which was the X7 series, had a big screen like this, but they were really too big and not designed to be mounted on a wall. This could either be mounted both on a wall or on a desk, as it's shown, but the wall will require some level of an optional wall mount in case you actually need that. A big differentiator are these little red stars here, which actually has 10-party audio conferencing. Why would you need 10-party audio conferencing? Very often people will schedule conference calls in advance, but what the great capability of actually some people from the old school is you can go ahead and have 2 calls, and then you could bring on 2, 3, 4, 5 in an ad hoc situation, so that you can go ahead and put people on hold and bring in many different callers onto one phone. And a lot of people still use that, believe it or not, but we've decided to increase that capability of this moving forward. Now let's look at some of the top Linux section. This one is the V65, and obviously this one also has the antibacterial plastics as well, so that you can go ahead and it just contains just another added resistance that, especially if you use this amongst your public desks. If it's your private phone, it's a less of an issue, but if you have a public phone out there that's used by several individuals, it will have, at least be a lot more resistance to doing bacteria leaving. So now you have audio conferencing. This one, we have 6-party audio conferencing versus the 10 on the Linux. But I think 6-party is something that was a target that was expressed by a lot of people out there saying, can it support 6? Many of the phones out there support a 3 ad hoc conferencing. We doubled that into supporting 6, so this is also great. And we also have this being able to do a tilt screen, being able to support up to 60 lines, gigabit. I mean, if you name it, everything that you really need on a desk phone is on here, as well as the latest Bluetooth connectivity connections as well, moving forward. Now, what we call this is really, I think this is sort of more of the workhorse. This isn't what we call the essential things, but will contain a lot of the different features as integrated Bluetooth and integrated Wi-Fi. Also entertaining 6-party, but then this doesn't have the tilt screen, but does almost everything that the other one does. This is more what we would consider that of a lesser price point, that really is wall mountable, desk mountable, and that this is really something that will take all the features of the model above it without the fancy tilt screen and everything, and bring it down to what we consider as a workhorse model. And it supports up to 12 SIP lines, which is really more than sufficient. The other ones have up to 20, but this one has 12, depending on what type of things you're talking about. Now, what things you want to see is that we've actually outlined the stars to tell you what are the differentiators when you go ahead and do that, because many of the others, they might have Bluetooth version 4, or this one brings it up to version 5, and may not always comply with all of the dual versions of Wi-Fi as well. So these are the differentiating points that you can go ahead and take a look at. Then, of course, our essential line, which is really the basic, what we call the SIP line here. We don't necessarily have a color screen, but it does sufficient enough to give you all the information on a monochrome. The idea here is cost, and for those people who really, if they really want Wi-Fi, you could have to use our Wi-Fi dongle to kind of do that. And we have one USB port that you could put either a Bluetooth dongle or a Wi-Fi dongle. So people that really need a SIP line, this is a great cost-effective solution that will provide you with all the basic needs of Wi-Fi, all of the classic needs of an Opus type of codec, so that you could take advantage of low bandwidth availability while giving you the most high bandwidth audio performance out there. So all of the real things are included, but at what we call the baseline feature. And that's really kind of it for our baseline overview. Now, some of the highlights that we have that really take this above and beyond just an individual phone is zero-touch deployment. One of the things that we offer is a cloud-based system that we provide to partners free of charge. We call it FDMCS, which is the Fanvil Device Management Cloud System. This is something that you can get from us, or you could even contact VoIP Supply. They can go ahead and send you an activation link, and you can actually have this up and running and be able to do, you know, deployment through the phone directly from our device management system, or two installation methods, or you could, if you happen to be adopting a PBX that has its own provisioning tool, you can actually use their PBX to download the, to do the provisioning as well. So we offer all of those different things. And a lot of these I've already touched base as well, but with at least at the high-end phone, with the Android only, it has a built-in camera. All of the Linux models don't do that. This is something that we've done. We found it very popular. We actually started exploring many of the different hospitality units, and this bullet point came up quite a bit in a lot of hospitality. Oh, do you actually have antibacterial services on it? It'd be great. And we figured, hey, if it's really sort of a nice requirement in the hospitality market, why not bring it into the business market? That will add a bit to that. And it also just gives us a little bit of differentiation. And it's provided on both the V67 and the V65 in terms of the plastics that we use moving forward. Obviously, touchscreen, which is great. You know, this allows really to adjust these things. I mean, I don't have to talk too much about it, but it's available in both the 67 and 65, giving you that added flexibility if that's something that your client is looking for. Cool lighting with color keys. I think I mentioned this earlier, especially on the Android phone, especially when you power this thing up, you really sort of get a light show. This is probably more of a marketing effort than it is a technical effort, but when you actually see it, it's kind of nice. In fact, I do know that one of the open box videos that VoIP Supply had put together actually shows some of these buttons going on and off, and you can download that out of the box experience, and you end up getting an idea of what this thing looks like right out of the box. Obviously, with this unit, you also have a lot of ability to do up to 10 parties, as I mentioned earlier before. With the V67, you could also include 2-party video calls, and you actually see the actual, you know, party line looking like this, and it looks just like the party line that you would see under any Android application you would download. You know, the real key here is not only is it just capable of downloading the classic communications, but many software manufacturers, especially in the case of, say, hospitality environments, many people will actually download a specific interface that's Android compatible. Instead of showing the standard phone, it'll actually show the room number. You could have customizations that can display client information, local restaurants, the weather that's outside, all of these different things that are customized, but you would require an Android type device to show their client and display it otherwise. So we offer both options from just either a Linux or as well as an Android device moving forward. Obviously, all the different details in terms of catching all of the different codecs. These are the most popular, G7022. Of course, we do the G711s. I mean, it makes no sense. Every phone out there does G711, but we also couple our high-end G722 with Opus and doing all of the different noise reduction technology to really enhance the audio performance of that. Another thing that we do is doing a 5-megapixel camera on our phones. For many of those who are familiar with Fanvil, we also provide door access systems, intercoms without cameras, or even third-party cameras that actually display things in VGA graphics mode. And you can actually use our these displays to display, you know, the VGA quality and all of these different things. So the two-way is the Android, but all the rest of the devices, the V65 to V62, not the V62, but the V65 supports a VGA quality as well moving forward, so you can get the best video quality moving forward. I talked a little bit earlier about the Android 9.0, more capabilities. Again, you're sort of getting the latest Android operating system. Unfortunately, with these phones, it's not something you could upgrade the operating system with, so what you get, and the good news is that adopting Android 9.0 gives you a long runway that for the life of the phone, depending on what type of client it will do, and it would be backward compatible for a lot of the latest features. As I said earlier, the big difference between this series as well as complementing the XU is that this one has, on the top 3 models, 67, 65, 64, all include Bluetooth as well as the Wi-Fi integrated to the phone. It really is a must-have feature in a lot of the remote applications, and having all of the basic features that you really need. And as well, we try to make the latest and greatest in being able for you to do that, and so that you can have the latest and greatest, you know, feature set moving forward. Obviously, it's available to link with security products. I said this a little bit earlier, that not only with the V67, but also the V65 and all the different models, frankly, if you want to take advantage of the video capabilities of our door access systems or our intercoms, or even a broadcast, you can make sure that you're yielding the top return model, especially if you're going to work with a 67 or 65. You'll have that VGA quality that you can go ahead and send the quality screen, and you can actually have a touch button so that if there's a friendly at the gate or at the door, you could just push a button and have that person come in. And all of these devices that we provide is all SIP endpoints. You know, we don't provide a PBX that couples with our phones. We are purely a SIP endpoint provider, giving you the capabilities of providing PA enhancement and doing multicast networks amongst many people out there. Many people who have adopted cloud solutions, you wonder, how do I get a cloud solution to do a multicast system within the business? This is one device that you can actually call in and actually provide multicasting throughout the business. And this is an indoor unit as well, so that people can actually look inside and see who's out there rather than having a phone mounted to a wall. And these are just really one of several different models that we have. We have some lighter models that are more probably conducive for an MDU type unit, for an apartment that you can see that has quick dials that you can allow a person to go in one at a time. Obviously, zero touch deployment. When you couple all that, we also provide a device management system as something that you want to do. If you're already working with a third-party deployment scenario, I would always suggest to use one or the other and never both. And then, because if you have both, they'll tend to conflict with each other. But the nice thing is that with this deployment monitor, you can actually do a passive monitoring solution as opposed to deployment, so that you can tell from a remote distance, being able to provide remote, power cycles, or doing perhaps any upgrades that you might want to see, or the performance of those models that you've deployed out in the field. But we provide that level of capability, to you if that's something that adds value to your business. Okay, desktop stands are wall mountable. I mentioned this. This is very straightforward in being able to use these phones in any scenario that you wanted to go ahead and use. Now, this last slide I'm going to have is really the comparison. I'm not going to go over this, as this is sort of an eye chart, but you can download the slide. And what I did is really outlined with these red stars where we differentiate against many of our competition out there. We really bring forth, all the different, we have phones that compete with the 67, the 65, 64, and where we really exceed, we like to put in those stars to really show you where we exceed from a spec-wise on the competition. So feel free to reference this. If anybody wants to do a deeper dive into this, I'm more than happy to pair up on a phone, with anybody at VoIP Supply if you want to do a deeper dive. But this is kind of it, from a feature perspective, that show you all the different features that it has across our V line. And again, this is something to complement our XU line or our X line. And so this is not meant to, disengage any of the other phones, but to actually add a complement. But the big feature is the inclusion of the Wi-Fi capability as well as a different style. That's it for me in terms of that. I'll stop sharing my screen. I'll send it back to you, lady, and Tom.
Great. Thank you very much, Tommy. Appreciate all the info there. Definitely some cool product. And like I said, after seeing these things firsthand, I can say I think they're going to be a real nice offering and a real success out here. Did have a couple questions. So one of the questions here for you, Tommy, is on the V67, will it support the 3CX conference app?
The conference app, if it's Android compatible, so in other words, if you bring it down, one of the things that you have to be careful about is that these phones, by the way, have already been sent to 3CX in advance, by the way. So I believe that these phones will be qualified on the 3CX version 4 of their latest release. So it's already been done, and I believe version 4 release will actually do that. Now, when you say version app, the way you download the Android software on these phones is not necessarily through a store. Like, most of the people out there are very familiar with Android on their smartphone, but you'd have to go out to an APK store. And if 3CX actually has an APK version of their app, then there's no reason in the world why it wouldn't work. Very often when you download from the store, that store goes directly onto your smartphone. It's not something that you load onto this app. But if you have an Android-based APK, which is if 3CX does issue one, then by all means it will support it.
Is there going to be a branding option on the V-Series phones?
Yes, in fact, unlike the XU model, of which the XU model we actually designed sort of a modest requirement for rebranding, this, on the other hand, is pretty much done at the factory. So, is the option available? The answer is yes. So, if you're trying to rebrand, we'll have to work that on a case by case basis. But the minimum order quantity, especially if you want to work on the V67 or V65 models, then you can actually rebrand that. But the minimum order quantity from there starts to begin at around 1,000 units, per model, per order. Because, unlike the XU, where we actually modified some of the things that actually to update the brand, this has to be done at the factory. And so when we set up these phones at the factory for the V-Series, it has to be done there. So the answer is yes, we do it. And if you have the capabilities of doing, high volume, perhaps like 1,000 units per model, then let's go ahead and have a discussion. We'll be more than happy to talk with you.
Great. And last but not least, when will all V-Series models be available for purchase?
Well, they're actually on their way to VoIP Supply today. I mean, so I think you may have I think it depends. You could just contact Tom or anybody at VoIP Supply to get an idea on where they're going to get their product. But I do know it's already been shipped, and it's on a boat delivery. And I think many of these will be introduced middle to late of March timeframe is my guesstimate, but you can get a probably more accurate date from them.
Yeah, if somebody's really looking for an accurate date, feel free to reach out to me direct, and
Correct.
I can go to my purchasing department, and they're able to track these shipments, and we can give you, what the accurate ETA is going to be.
Correct. I don't have the details now, but we're also, because it's March, Fanvil has put together a bundle program which allows people to test drive it. We haven't finalized it yet. We do have a bundle program that doesn't include the V-Series, but we sure enough will include some combination that will allow partners to do this, bundle program or test drive program that sort of gives you a high end, low end, so you can kind of kick around and see, how these phones are like at a very low cost up front.
Yeah, and if anybody wants something as far as testing goes, you can always reach out to myself or your current rep, and we're always more than happy to look at for on a one-off NFR type unit. We'll get you a special price on that. Keep costs down for your testing purposes, and also work with you on what your actual reseller price is going to be. I do appreciate everybody's time today. I know everybody's probably busy. We appreciate you taking time out of your day. Tommy, thank you very much again for stepping in here with us and giving us all this great information. Definitely exciting. We look forward to doing more work with you as always. Great partnership with VoIP Supply and Fanvil. And thank you. And we will talk to you again.
Thank you, everybody.